We are recording, I think. Yes, we are. A lot of wrinkles in this shirt. Not prepared. Okay, today we're going to talk about a scary topic. Pain relapses. No one likes talking about this. I don't like talking about pain relapses. They're terrifying when we've been out of pain for a number of months or a number of years and the pain comes back. It's so scary, and I get that. Now, over the years, I've had a number of pain relapses. Some of them have been short-lived, and others have lasted for longer periods of time. Now, in today's video, I'm going to explain kind of the main reasons that pain relapses happen, and I also want to explain Alan Gordon's 3 stages that people go through when they have a pain relapse. So, let's get into it. Now, in pain reprocessing therapy, we understand that there's really 4 main reasons that pain relapses take place. And so the first reason that a pain relapse takes place is an injury. As we go through life, even after we've recovered from neuroplastic pain, injuries are going to kind of take place sometimes. We're all susceptible to this. The problem is when we have a strong mind-body connection and we've been caught in that pain-fear cycle in the past, after the injury is healed, the pain may persist long past that. And this is one of the ways that I see often a pain relapse takes place is a real injury took place, but the pain's persisted long past it. Now, the second reason that a pain relapse can take place is a perceived injury. So a lot of times when we've been hyper-vigilant about our body, when we've been scared about sensations there, we might perceive that we've injured ourselves. And for myself, over the years, I know I've perceived that I've injured myself, and then all of a sudden I'll start to get some pain symptoms occurring in whatever body part that I think that I've injured. But in reality, I'm pretty certain looking back that these were more a perceived injury that took place. Now, the most common reason that I see a pain relapse take place is because of a stressful situation or a life transition. Now, over the years, when I've had major stressors take place in my life, not all of them, but a lot of them, some pain symptoms will start to come back. And this makes sense. This is how my brain warns me that it's feeling in danger. And later in this video, I'm going to explain my longest pain relapse and why it kind of took place. And it was really centered on a very stressful situation. And so this really is the number one reason that I'll see pain relapses take place and people get caught back into the pain fear cycle is because we have these huge stressors take place which overwhelm our nervous system, and then as a result the pain will start to come back, and then we get really panicked about that. So this is one of the main reasons to watch out for and to think about, like, if all of a sudden you've been recovered for months or years and your pain starts to come on, it's important to walk it back a bit and understand, like, hey, was there some type of stressor that's been taking place? And so this is kind of the third way that a pain relapse can happen. Now, the fourth way is really when we're not taking care of ourselves, when we're not taking care of our nervous system and we go back into old habits of being on high alert or living in danger mode. Now, a lot of my relapses have also taken place because of this. For myself, as I've talked on this channel, I can put a lot of pressure on myself. And when that pressure becomes too much, or I become too critical of myself, all of a sudden I'll start to get pain symptoms. And this is really normal because my nervous system is starting to get dysregulated and I've fallen off of taking care of myself. And so if you're all of a sudden having pain symptoms, months or years later, think about, like, have I been caring for my internal state? Because this is a really common thing that can bring back our pain. And sometimes just simple adjustments can take place. As long as we haven't gone too far down this road, simple adjustments can help that pain dissipate by us actually taking care of our internal states and of our nervous system and exiting out of danger mode. So those are the main reasons that a pain relapse can take place. Now, once a pain relapse has started to occur, Alan Gordon explains that we kind of move through 3 stages and back into recovery. And these 3 stages can happen really quickly, or we can move through them really slowly. Now, I'm going to explain these 3 stages, but as I do it, I'm going to explain the longest pain relapse that I had take place and how I overcame it. So this pain relapse probably took place, I want to say like 3 years ago. To give you context, what was happening in my life at the time is my daughter, who's almost 3 at this point, was born, but she was born very premature. So both my kids, as I've talked on this channel before, were born very premature. So my daughter was born at about, I think, 29 weeks. So about 11 weeks early, to give you context. And when she was born, she was a pound. Like I could hold her in like one hand, basically. Like she was tiny. And it's a very scary process because my partner was very ill at the time. And so we had an emergency C-section and stressors were really high. Now, when you have a premature baby, you then, spend a lot of time in the NICU because she's not able to come home. So she was in the NICU for about 2.5, 3 months. And this was, of course, right in the middle of COVID. So, at the time, me and my partner couldn't even go and see our daughter together because only one person was allowed in the hospital at a given time. So my stress levels was through the roof. I was waking up, at like 4 a.m., going to the hospital, spending time with her, doing skin to skin with her, which is really good for babies when they're in the NICU. And then after about a couple of hours, I would race off to work. I would work all day. And then I would come home and take care of my son, who was a toddler. And, then my partner would go to the hospital. And so it was just on repeat. And my stressors were just so high. I was putting so much pressure on myself. I was critical of myself that I wasn't handling it well enough. And in the midst of this, probably about a month into this, my right leg, I started to get pain. And this is a really common symptom that I had years and years back when I first recovered. I'd have a lot of pain in my right hip and leg. And it came back. There was no injury. There was no perceived injury. I knew what it was. I knew it was neuroplastic. And then I entered into the first stage that Alan Gordon talks about when we're having a pain relapse, which is panic. I was completely panicked. I was panicked because, the pain's back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with it, with everything that's going on. And in the midst of all this, I'm just panicked also because my stressors are so high that I kind of had this narrative of like, I'm not going to be able to get rid of the pain right now because my stress is just so high. And so I stayed in this panic zone for a couple of weeks. Now, other times when stress wasn't so high in my life and a pain symptom came back, I was only panicked for a couple of minutes. And that's what I mean about these stages, is they can be very brief or they can be extended. And I was panicked for a couple of weeks. I was preoccupied about the symptom. I got back into that pain fear cycle. And as a result, the pain escalated. It got worse and worse and worse for a couple of weeks. Then I shifted to the next stage that Alan Gordon talks about, which is forcing it. I started to do the techniques again. I started to do the emotional work. I was journaling. I was doing somatic tracking. I was throwing everything I could at the pain, but it was with a lot of intensity. It was with a lot of pressure, and I was trying to force myself out of pain. And so again, I was doing the right strategies, just with the wrong attitude. I was doing the work, but with way too much pressure and intensity, which then just worsened my pain more. And I became more and more frustrated at this time. Also in the midst of all this, my daughter's preparing to come home soon. And so stress was still really high in my life. And then I moved to stage number 3. And stage number 3 is really where you're like, this is how it works. Basically, I continued doing the strategies, but I had the right attitude with it. I shifted truly around my emotions. A huge component, which I've talked about before, was self-compassion. I really started to use a lot of self-compassion work from Kristen Neff and Christopher Germer, and I actually just needed to care for myself. There was nothing I was going to be able to do to take away the stress of the situation that I was in. And so I actually just started to care for my emotional state. I started to have compassion for myself for being in pain, and I wasn't trying to force it to go away anymore. I came to this place of almost accepting it. I just accepted, I'm in pain right now. It really makes sense. It makes a lot of sense that I'm having pain symptoms right now. And as a result, I stopped fighting it. Instead of forcing it to go away, I was no longer fighting it. I just accepted that in the moment I was having pain symptoms, and that was okay. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to force it to go away. It was okay for me to be in pain just for this moment. And as I did this, I was able to have a more, light, easy attitude with the pain. I was able to attend to it with curiosity. And this is what I mean. I cultivated the right attitude I needed to heal. And within probably a week or two, again, this was a while ago, so I can't remember exact, but probably a week or two, the pain just completely dissipated. And so those are kind of the 3 stages we move through when there is a pain relapse. Now, over the years, I've gotten better at it. And when, my life isn't as stressful, I can move through these 3 stages within 10 minutes and the pain will just dissipate, right? But it's important to keep these in mind when you're having a pain relapse and kind of mapping out where am I right now? Because it gives you a sense of what's your next step? What do you need to do next? So I hope this video was helpful. Please put your questions or comments down below, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.